Public Acts is a community building programme that we started at the National Theatre 5 years ago, and the hope was to create a national programme that would allow really excellent participatory practice to cut right through the bloodstream of what the National Theatre is, who it serves, who it's for, and what it does, and how it tells stories. And we wanted to partner in long-term, sustained partnerships with brilliant grassroots social change and community organisations across the country, and with brilliant theatre artists and theatre organisations across the country, and come together to make amazing pieces of theatre that would celebrate local communities and artists. I think being a national theatre means being national, and I don't personally think that you can be successfully national and have that nationwide reach and that nationwide impact, and certainly that nationwide impact with communities, unless you are working in partnership with brilliant organisations and artists and community leaders in those areas who know intimately what a community is about, what the vibe is, what the need is, what the passion is, where the joy is. So we feel so privileged to have such an amazing set of partners to make this work happen with, and we have done so much. We're just constantly learning from the amazing practice and knowledge of our partners. Trowbridge has been an amazing place to get to know and discover, and the team at Trowbridge Town Hall have been totally joyful from start to finish and so inspiring.
Welcome Trowbridge Massive.
To
The Odyssey! Episode 3!
the Four Winds!
And we love the difference in context. We love that we bring the perspective of a national organisation, and Trowbridge Town Hall brings the perspective of a much more local, hyper-local community organisation, community arts organisation. And that marriage of those different skill sets and perspectives feels like it's the special sauce, the thing that makes the work really exciting and different and important. We conceived this project during the second lockdown, at a time when all of us were having to dig so deep across the country and across the world to find new reserves of resilience, and actually telling a story of somebody, one individual, whose world is completely turned upside down and has to find constant ways of reinventing themselves and finding new energy and drawing new strength from other people and other places. That felt like a story that we could all get behind in this moment. The Odyssey is a story of many things. It's a story of monsters and whirlpools and nymphs and magical islands. It's also a story of home, of family, of loss and separation, and strength. And most of all, we were attracted to the idea of Odysseus as the most resilient of heroes. That's how Odysseus is always spoken about. There is a pull and a weight to these old stories, and there are reasons why these stories have existed and remained so alive in the human consciousness for thousands and thousands of years. And that's because they carry an incredibly universal set of messages and ideas within them that people find it really, really easy to respond to.
The brief, yeah, it's like, there's lots of layers to it that I was given as a writer, so it has to fit in with this, they're like over the whole story of the Odyssey and the episode that we were given, that we were like gifted here in Trowbridge. So yeah, it was like aligning those things of what is that part of the story, what's the original that Homer wrote, and then how can I fit in, like how I've interpreted the story, and how I think the community and the people in Trowbridge interpret the story. And it was like, yeah, I suppose it was beautifully collaborative because we started working with the community company on a very early draft of the script. So I think it was the first draft. So they read it. We got feedback from them. So it was very much like developed in conversation with them through that whole like drafting process. So yeah, in the early drafts there was a lot of kind of trying to write in a sort of like open, kind of imagining who we think the people that are going to be in the project are going to be, but we didn't know. We knew some people that had come and were interested and had expressed an interest. It was kind of, trying to write a version that lots of different people from the town of different ages, different backgrounds, different voices could then like fit into.
I think from the beginning it was just generally talking to people about the concept of a production taking place at the town hall, again without sharing too much about who it was with. And then when we were able to share that it was the National Theatre, then we decided to open our nets a little wider, and we had a wonderful open meeting at the Trowbridge Town Hall that we put a call out on social media, called out some of those groups that we'd initially spoken with and invited people in. And I can remember on the day, we'd order some baklava and we'd put some chairs out, and then suddenly lots of people turned up, and we were putting more chairs out, and the room was really beginning to fill up. And I think that was the first time that felt, oh, there was a real kind of excitement about this project. So that was the beginning, really.
When working with a mix of abilities, whether that be some people that have completely never performed before, some people that have some experience of performance but not necessarily in a play, and others that have sort of like dabbled in plays at some point in their life. To begin with, what you do is you start to build an ensemble. You start to bring those people together, and you give them a toolbox of some of the skills that they might need over the course of a process. So always my approach within that is to move quite quickly and to introduce some of the fundamentals that I work with as a theatre director, thinking about where point of focus is, thinking about how you talk lines with intention. And most of the time, those activities are framed within a game context. So we start off with a really basic game that feels like you're just performing an activity, and then you layer on top of that some of the principles that those performers are going to use. And you do that before you ever read a word of the script, before you ever really start to conceptualize the idea. So it feels like you're on a boot camp in some senses of the skills that will be needed throughout a process. And then you start to drip feed in little bits of the story, little scenes, and start to read them and imagine and bring them up. And always for me, it's thinking about moving quite quickly, putting things up on their feet quickly, and not being consumed by perfection at the beginning. So then you go back to it time and time again, and you refine, and as we do it, we're learning. And this means that people don't feel the pressure of having to get something right all of the time. It means that we can make baby steps in the right direction, and we can build something together.
What I have been so surprised about is the positive energy and the skill set, not just of creating a piece and helping us translate from the words to a physical piece, but the fact that he is such an inclusive director. And that skill set, quite frankly, blows my mind. We are all in quite different places from our ability to translate the text and be involved, and he makes everybody part of that. We are a community group and everybody is important, and he brings everybody with us. He has quite a special skill set beyond, I suppose, what I might have thought a theatre director does.
One of the most joyous things, I suppose, is seeing people exceed the expectations that you put on them straight away. So you start to see on day one the people that you go, okay, they get this, they know what they're doing. And then there's some people that might shy away because of their intimidation of the room that they're in, intimidation of process, sometimes intimidation of me or the other performers. And the beautiful thing about working over a long period of time in communities is that you give people the space to be able to take ownership of the space. And that means that you start to celebrate beautiful performances in people.
I think in those early taster workshops, it was more about theatre making and how to create, creating a piece of theatre. I think Jessie did a lot of exercise about creating atmosphere and characters and that kind of thing. And so the concept of the Odyssey wasn't the focus. I think we looked at what home meant to people. That was quite a big a topic in those sessions, and getting home, and we talked about leadership and those kind of things, but it was very much in those early stages. It was much less about the Odyssey. Many people hadn't read the Odyssey, me included. And that was never an issue. It was never, you know, it didn't seem to matter. Flo has such a wonderful kind of open style, and it was very much like, this is a story that we're going to tell, and we're going to tell it in our own way. And I think the first time that the group read the script, the opening scene of Flo's script, I think people really actually felt, oh my goodness, yeah, this isn't at all stuffy, and it's not at all, you know, this does connect with us. And I think particularly, for me, the most exciting time was because during those early stages, we split the groups, and the youth group came in on a separate day, and I think the first time the Trowbridge Future youth read that script, and we heard those voices reading Flo's words, and that was really exciting. That felt a really exciting moment.
Yeah, in the kind of earlier stages of writing, I just sort of had to write from the Trowbridge that I know, from the time I'd spent here. A lot of my time in the town was as a teenager when I came to college here, so I had this quite like youthful version of the town, I suppose, in my head. That was like how I saw it through those kind of teenage eyes of being at college here. So yeah, it had to shift and change and adapt, because the reality is, which is a beautiful reality, that we have a very mixed company in terms of age. So we've got from sort of like, I think 11, 12 up until to people in their 80s, so it's like this massive age range. So it was, a lot of it was making it, just more truthful and authentic to those different ages, different voices, and letting go of that, my teenage Trowbridge dreams or whatever.
I think this project is going to give the communities and the people who've engaged with it sort of like a spark to create. I know some of the younger people in college are performing, and it's nice to sort of feed that fire, that after college there is chance to play with art, and there is a space here where you can come in and do things that maybe are outside your wheelhouse. I think it would give people an incentive to come back to the space to do stuff, and encourage people to keep picking away at that creative and working with the theatre after the project is done.
I think it'll show Trowbridge in a different light, in the fact that I think not many people know about Trowbridge. They see, because it's so close to Bath, therefore everybody automatically thinks Bath or Salisbury. But I think Trowbridge, you'll be seeing the fact it's a gorgeous building, will be seen, and also the galley will be out in this sensory garden. Then you'll be able to see the gorgeous park that we've got. I think it'll show the fact that there's lots of positiveness and lots of energy here, and also there's a great community.
And also I think that one of the really great things about it is all people are welcome, from all different abilities, walks of life. And I think that that's where the power of theatre is so, real and vital and visceral.
It's quite hard to talk about this process without having a giant grin on your face. Yes, it's been amazing to work with professional writers and professional directors, but actually the joy has been developing something really from scratch with people in the community I wouldn't normally get the chance to work with, and that diversity in creating that company, it's been a really special event so far. I think we've probably all been surprised by how we've reacted and how bringing to life the Odyssey, an old poem, has been. Some of that has been just the quality of the writing from Flo, the director, but the creativity, I think everybody who's been involved in the process has grown through that, whether they've had experience in doing it before, whether they have any personal challenges. Everybody has brought something to the process, everyone. And that's also part of the joy, seeing us all grow and develop as part of that process. It's out of the comfort zone for me, possibly more than other people who might have been involved in doing performance before, regardless of whether they have any kind of difficulties or come from a different background. Have I discovered things about myself? Yes. I've discovered that I can be braver than I might have thought that I wasn't before, that I am more willing to make myself vulnerable with strangers than I might have thought of before. Possibly that I have more creativity than I might have had before, and that I can just every Wednesday evening go home walking on a cloud of joy. So I possibly wasn't expecting that either.
One of the young people sort of made a comment to me. They said, "Oh, this sort of thing doesn't happen in Trowbridge. I didn't really think it was for us." And I think that whole sense that theatre and the arts isn't for everybody, I think is completely broken apart by public acts and the kind of work that they're doing, making it completely accessible to everybody. And opening up the opportunity for those audiences who might see theatre as something that's not for them, either as a performer or as an audience member. And I think it completely, just makes it much more accessible to everybody. So I think public acts and the Odyssey and all the other work around it absolutely does that, yes.
Next, can we go from the guys, from when the guys come down? Last chance, lads? I'm lucky enough and to have built a career that means that I can I open shows and direct shows with amazing professional performers in some of the leading venues in the country in a professional capacity. But I always make space a couple of times, once every year or two, to do a piece of community or work with young people, because that's where my journey in theatre started, and because it's a different muscle to stretch, and actually is where I learn the most about myself and the people and the people that inhabit the society that we live in, and I would encourage every director to make the time and take their process and their practice to working in community or non-professional settings and bringing their rigour and their love of the art form to those spaces.
One of the main things about public acts that I have learned is the importance of building community and building a community and connecting people, and that's what this project is really a big part of this project. And so it's really important that everybody has the opportunity to be in the room together. So we don't have split rehearsals where we have this group rehearsing and then this group rehearsing and then that group. Every week we have the full company, which is quite a full group with 30 odd people in the room. But I think that's really important, that you do have a time and a space for everybody to be together, because you know, lots of these people are working with people that they never would have maybe even had the opportunity to speak to, or you know, different ages, different mixes of people that without this project they would have never connected with. And I think that's really exciting, but it's also quite tricky as well. So it's really important to have that community pastoral I think that we look after people. It's a safe space. Everybody feels they have an artistic voice and a voice. But it can sometimes be tricky, you know. People have lives and things go on in people's lives, and coming to a rehearsal every week is not a usual thing for a lot of these people.
Tess is she has been the glue that brought it all together. So, and regardless of what silly question you might ask, She's always there to try and give you the confidence that yes, you should be part of it. Yes, they will find a way to make it work. She's so dynamic in a very gentle and giving way. So yeah, she's absolutely been the glue that's kind of brought it all together, I would suggest.
The arts are just facing this uphill struggle to prove themselves constantly, and performing arts. And it just shouldn't be that way. And if there's anything that our programme's doing that is helping to fight for the place of culture and theatre as an essential part of a community's health and well-being, then that's an incredibly important thing. We are so here for that fight.
Some people go to university, some people go to drama school, some people know they want to do it from an early age, some people find it much later in life. Some people want to do it for fun. Some people want to use it as a form of escapism from their everyday life and from their 9 to 5, but would never ever want to do it professionally. And we have to make space for all of those things to be valid, all of those routes to be valid, without saying this is the way that theatre is made and these are the people that make theatre, because it's bollocks, it's just not true.
We're so excited and inspired by the energy and the determination in Trowbridge for this to be something that's a catalyst for lots more brilliant, essential participatory work, all centred around the town hall. It feels so, it's the best possible outcome we could have hoped for, that people here in Trowbridge will have lots more opportunities to gather together to make brilliant theatre in this spirit of connection and compassion and joy and care. We've been so blessed with Jessie and Flo, what an incredible team. These really, really expert, high caliber professional artists who are collaborating in such a shared and generous and exciting way with the community members to make something so special happen. It's the dream. It's the dream that this continues and happens lots and lots, and we're really humbled by the response in Trowbridge. It's just wonderful.
So we can go out into the community now using all the skills we've learned thanks to the National Theatre to attract, we hope, more and more people in our community to be brave and step forward and find their creative inner self and then to display it. And I believe passionately in something called voice as value, that everyone should be given a platform from which to express themselves authentically and discover a number of ways to articulate that. It might be just by speaking, it might be through writing, it might be through painting, it might be through recording a song, it might be through dance. All of these things are really important. And it doesn't matter if you aren't going into a career as a professional. If you've got something that you can be proud of, that you know you can do, and you get joy out of doing it, then do it. I would love to think that over the next 5 years, the legacy of this won't be just Trowbridge Town Hall doing its annual community performance, but communities within Trowbridge, based on what they've learnt from us, doing their own thing. And I think this is a wonderful opportunity, and I really thank the National Theatre for putting their trust in us and giving us this remarkable model on which to build.
Queen again, yes? I'll figure out what to do with him after. He's not going unpunished, trust me. You toe the line on my ship, or you suffer.